Everyone, we're going to get started, and we're going to start with the pledge. We have 4 Hoover Elementary Rockets, 4th graders here. These girls are going to recite the pledge for us. Claire, Maddie, Melina, and Stella, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Livonia PTSA Council Candidate Forum for the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education. My name is Andrea Malenfant. I am the president of the Livonia PTSA Council. The Livonia PTSA Council is a non-governing support body for the 22 individual school unit PTSAs in Livonia Public Schools, offering guidance, training, and advocacy for parents, teachers, and students. PTA is the oldest and largest child advocacy association in America. PTA is comprised of millions of parents, teachers, grandparents, caregivers, foster parents, and other caring adults who share a commitment to improving the education, health, and safety of all children. PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. PTAs are 501c3 nonprofit organizations that are nonpartisan and do not support or endorse any candidate. The Livonia PTSA Council is hosting tonight's forum to promote, encourage, and support our members and the community to be an informed voter and, more importantly, to vote on November 8th. Thank you to the candidates for participating in this forum, and thank you to the community for joining us here tonight or for watching the recording of this forum at a later time. We would also like to thank the community members who submitted over 60 questions to be asked at tonight's forum. We strongly encourage you to join your local PTA or PTSA to join us in our efforts to advocate for all children. At this time, I would like to introduce our PTSA Council Advocacy Chair, Mike Testa, who will be the moderator for this forum.
Welcome to the forum tonight. I'm happy to assume the role as moderator, but I will have plenty of help. As a parent of 4 students and a volunteer and a Livonia voter, I look forward to hearing from the candidates. All 7 candidates officially on the ballot have been invited here tonight and are with us. The incumbents are Colleen Burton, Liz Jarvis, Mark Johnson, and there's 4 challengers, Jeff Ferguson, Emily Keith, Pam Morgan, and Reina Vendramini. The format of our forum is as follows. First, we'll start with opening statements. Each candidate will be given time to introduce themselves. Second, in the main portion of our forum will be Q&A. The candidates will be asked questions using a modified round-robin style format. In order to touch on as many topics as possible, Q&A will be consisted of 4 phases. The first will be traditional in-depth questions. Second will be speed round questions. Third will be word association questions. And fourth, the final question. We'll wrap up the forum with closing statements, and candidates will be given up to 90 seconds to make comments. The rules for the forum. Just a few minutes ago, we did a random draw for seating order and speaking order. It will rotate clockwise from the start. For the convenience of the candidates and now the audience, there will be a countdown clock on the screen. We'll also be displaying the questions on the screen. So if you see the candidates looking up the screen, that's why. That's for the benefit of the audience to let you know why they're looking around. When a candidate's speaking time is ended, they will be allowed to finish the sentence that they had started, but they should quickly yield their time. Candidates should only speak when it is their turn, and they should not interrupt others while speaking. And finally, there's no personal attacks will be allowed. Moderators will cut them off. We ask that everyone please silence their cell phones. We also ask that the audience refrain from talking, cheering, jeering, or doing anything disruptive. We have a limited amount of time tonight. We'd like to get to as many questions as possible. So let's get started with opening statements. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to give an opening statement. We will start.
Mr. Testa, are all of our mics live?
Sorry. We'll start with Jeff Ferguson.
Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Jeff Ferguson. And the reason why I would like to be on the Livonia School Board is, first and foremost, I want to help kids get a great education. That's why I became a teacher. I was a teacher for 10 years. And now it's my chance to be able to continue on with that ability of helping and not just ensure a great education, but ensure one that's lacking in distractions from political bias. I very much want to support teachers. I understand how hard a job that is. It's honestly the hardest job I've ever done. My wife is currently a teacher. She's been teaching for over 10 years, so I'm very familiar with the struggles and the challenges there. And I'd like to be a voice for the community. I think there's a section of the community that feels like their voice isn't being heard right now, and their family values are important to them, and the idea that their kids can go to school and not be pushed in a certain political direction is important to them, and I want to be able to hear their voice and stand up for them. Thank you.
Liz Jarvis, you're up.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the Livonia PTSA Council for hosting this forum tonight. My name is Liz Jarvis, and I am running for re-election to the Board of Education for Livonia Public Schools. I have lived in Livonia for 27 years. I have 3 children who all went through and graduated from Livonia Public Schools, and I'm a strong supporter of this school district. My children are all on the autism spectrum, and we have learned a lot about how to be a parent and how to be an advocate in Livonia Public Schools. I'm very proud of the education that my children all received here, and I'd like to make sure that all of the other children in our community have that same opportunity for a stellar education. As a parent, I know what it takes when your children are involved in school and you're sending your little one off on that first day and your heart goes with them. But I also know how your heart grows twice its size when they have that cap and gown on. What a wonderful experience. I come to this board with experience as a parent, also as a very involved parent, having been in PTA for more than 20 years, having served on the state PTA, the district school improvement council committee, as well as the Livonia Public Schools Education Foundation. And I am happy to bring all of my years of experience to make sure that our schools remain a wonderful place for student learning.
Thank you. Reina Vendramini, you're up.
Okay. My name is Reina Vendramini, and I am a mom to 3 wonderful sons, one of whom is a graduate from Franklin High School. I myself went through Livonia Public Schools, grew up here. I graduated from Stevenson and then went on to Hope College for my bachelor's degree, and I've been teaching in some way ever since. I have taught junior high. I have taught dance classes, I've been a para-pro, a substitute, and I have homeschool experience as well. I started to become more involved in what was going on with our schools, especially during the shutdowns, and started to have some questions about what was going on, came to board meetings, left with more questions than answers, and met some similar-minded parents at those meetings, and we found some others and ended up creating a group we called United Parents of Livonia Public Schools, and it's been a wonderful way to connect with other parents and learn that there is a segment of people in our community who are very supportive and appreciative of the schools, but have some real concerns about the direction education is going in terms of both curriculum and environment. Like, we don't want any kind of indoctrination, but we love education. And so I came here in order to be representative of the parents.
Thank you. Pam Morgan, you're up.
Hi, good evening. It's so exciting to be here with the PTA. My name is Pamela Morgan. I lived in Livonia for now 28 years. Both of my children have graduated from Stevenson High School. I am a teacher in Plymouth Canton. I've taught for over 30 years. I've taught kindergarten through 8th grade and adult education. I'm presently teaching 1st grade. I have a bachelor's from MSU and a master's in reading instruction K through 12. And I'm presently being trained in the new letters program. that is so important to bridge the gap with our reading scores that have plummeted for the last 3 years. I'm a passionate teacher who wants to restore public education to the forefront. I've been awarded the Plymouth VFW Teacher of the Year. I think it's so important to teach history as it is. I've been the Michigan Northwest ARC Teacher of the Year. I mainstreamed an autistic student into my classroom in first grade. I've also been awarded the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee Teacher of the Year. I always do what is best for kids and include parents. I'm a unique candidate. I will be the voice of the community, including parents and teachers.
Thank you. Emily Keith, you're up.
Thank you, PTSA Council, for holding this forum. I'm Emily Keith, she, her. Who here remembers their favorite teacher? Miss Mack, Kappa teacher at Churchill, was mine. She really invested a lot of her time into me and all her students. I'm running for school board to give back to the LPS community because it has given so much to me. Having children and nieces currently attending Livonia Public Schools in all triad levels, a brother-in-law with special needs who attended LPS, and a wife who is a substitute teacher for LPS, as well as being a Livonia grad myself, gives me a unique perspective over the other candidates. I have a Bachelor of Science in Telecommunication and a Master of Science in Accounting from Eastern Michigan University. I am a certified public accountant who is currently employed as Senior Director of Accounting at a publicly traded mortgage company. I have also worked as an auditor. My professional life has garnered me the skills to read and interpret complicated contract language, as well as effectively manage budgets. I have the leadership and team skills to work well with others who have a different point of view. I am a born researcher and will perform intensive research to ensure my decisions are based on facts. These qualities make me, Emily Keith, the best school board trustee candidate.
Thank you. Mark Johnson, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Testa, and thank you to the PTSA Council for hosting this forum tonight and for everyone who's come out to support their candidates. My name is Mark Johnson. I've been on the school board for 12 and a half years. I presently sit as the vice president. I've also been the past president. I am an attorney. I came to Livonia in 1966, went to the old, what is now the Riley Upper Elementary. I was junior high at that time, and I graduated from Bentley. I've been married to my wonderful wife, Rose, for 40 years. She's sitting in the back. And we have 2 children. They're twins. Melissa, who is a graduate of Stevenson and is now a professor of music at Butler University in Indianapolis. And Eric, who I call my little buddy, he's sitting back there, who is a special needs child and lives at home with us. I am invested on both sides of Farmington Road. I have been on the Parks and Recreation Commission for 34 years, the last 18 as the chair. I'm also a director of the LPS Education Foundation, and I'm the treasurer of the Livonia Community Prayer Breakfast. I think that experience brings me with a different perspective to meet the challenges of the school district, and I think it's actually my 12 and a half years on the board that makes me highly qualified to be reelected to the best school board in the best school district in the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen Burton, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Colleen Burton, and I'd like to thank the PTSA Council for hosting us this evening. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Education because I have a passion for high-quality public education for all kids. I've been very involved in the school district for many, many years. I've served on the Livonia Board of Education for the past 13 years and currently am the president of the board. I have over 20 years of volunteer experience in the district at all levels, and I'm certified with the Michigan Association of School Boards in courses including, but not limited to, school finance, school law, curriculum, labor negotiations, security, and others. I have a proven record of transparent, positive, productive leadership in this district. Being a member of the Board of Education is a very unique role. Only 7 individuals serve in this capacity in any given district. It's different than that of a teacher or an administrator, or a parent. The decisions we're asked to make can be mundane, and as we know, they can be highly stressful. Sometimes there's not a right or a wrong decision, but simply the best decision that you can make with the circumstances that are presented in front of you. What we do need to remember is every decision has an impact on the 13,000 students, on the 2,000 staff, and on the 20-some thousand parents in our district. I would like to talk more about that this evening, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. We'll now move to the question and answer portion of the forum. Again, this will be conducted in 4 phases. Phase 1 is traditional in-depth question. Candidates will have up to 60 seconds to respond to these questions. For this phase, only 4 of 7 candidates will respond to the question. Then a new question will be asked, and we will start with a new set of 4 candidates. This process will continue until we're done. Phase 2 is speed round questions. These will be short answer questions. All 7 candidates will have the opportunity to answer these questions. We'll have up to 10 seconds to respond to these questions. Phase 3 is word association. A word or topic will be given, and again, all 7 candidates will be able to respond to these. The intent is that the responses should be spontaneous and brief and only last a few seconds. We'll wrap up Q&A with phase 4, the final question, in which each candidate will be given up to 90 seconds to address any of the question or questions from earlier in the evening that they didn't have enough time to finish answering or did not have a chance to address. So let's get started with Q&A. Again, we'll start with traditional in-depth questions, and the first question will go to Liz Jarvis. What are the top 3 changes you feel LPS needs to address in the next few years? What are the top 3 changes you feel LPS needs to address in the next few years?
I think that we have 3 priorities looking at us, Mike. The first one that we need to consider is learning loss and our student learning emphasis, especially after coming out of the pandemic. It would be wrong to say that we weren't all touched in some way by the pandemic, and we need to address any of those changes, especially in terms of student learning. And the second priority I think that we need to consider is the shortage of teachers and other professionals across this state. It's not just a Livonia thing. There just aren't enough young people going into education to become teachers. That's something that we have to change by example, by encouraging our young people to become teachers, and by how we treat teachers. The third and final thing I think we could focus on is how we allocate and spend the dollars that have been sent to us this year, whether it's from the governor's budget or whether it is the dollars that were allocated from COVID relief.
Thank you. Reina Vendramini, you're up.
Okay. First and foremost, we need to focus on our students' academic or vocational achievement, because that's the main purpose of our school district, is to educate our children. That's the reason for its existence. Yes, there's been quite a bit of setback with no school, remote school, with masks and all kinds of challenges. So whatever programs we can bring in to address learning loss, more teachers, tutoring, whatever it takes. Also, I'm concerned about addressing policies to make sure that politics and teachers' personal opinions about politics are staying out of the classroom, improving our district transparency at the same time with what kinds of surveys are going out to the kids, and then also doing what we can to increase parental involvement at every level.
Thank you. Pam Morgan?
Oh, well, first and foremost is the class size. We really need to take a look at that, especially with the gaps of learning and the pressures on teachers right now to fulfill all those needs that those children need. Having a class size of 27 first graders compared to 20 is big when you're trying to do differentiated instruction. The other piece is the gap. How are we going to solve that? Are we going to look at better intervention programs, more employees to work one-on-one with students? And our last point would be physical responsibility. How are we spending our money? Some of the things that we spend our money on, I don't think are important. children need to come first. It's all about the student. The money needs to be spent on our students.
Thank you. Emily Keith, you'll close out this question.
First, teachers should be able to adjust their teaching style to the student, not one size shoe fits all. We should not be testing to standards, or teaching to standards, or teaching just to the tests. We find if we change our teaching style for each student, that our test scores will inherently increase, and we will fill the gap that was caused with COVID. Secondly, we need to address our students' and teachers' social and emotional needs by investing in more counselors and mental health professionals. Thirdly, we need to improve the communication between all parties, the board, the superintendent, the teachers, the students, and the parents.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to start to introduce some of the co-moderators. We started with the Stevenson Triad with the girls from Hoover doing the pledge. Now I'd like to bring in Churchill and Franklin High School students to ask some of the following questions. We'll start with Trevor from Franklin.
Hi, my name is Trevor Nichols. I'm from Franklin High School. And my first question for you is, since school boards are a nonpartisan body, do you feel you can put your personal political beliefs aside to make decisions that are good for all students and LPS as a whole?
Sorry, Mark, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. The board is nonpartisan. As the board right now, we could sit down and talk to each other, and we don't even know what the political backgrounds is of our colleagues on the board. We definitely put the needs of our students first. There is no partisan participation in the school board. First and foremost, we look at the education of our children and where to put our finances, where we put our budgets. We strictly stay out of politics. That's the last thing that should ever creep in to a school board. We're here for the students and what's best for the students, and that's it. Thank you.
Colleen Burton, it's your turn.
Thank you. This, I think, is a really easy question. There is no part of our school board that is typically political. As was stated, I don't even know what the political affiliations of some of the board members that sit at the table with me. What I thought of immediately too when this question was posed, making decisions for the good of the students as a whole, and for the good of all students, we have such an enormous variety politically of families, religiously, academically. We have nearly 14,000 students in the district. We have such an enormous variety. Even if an individual were trying to sway a decision in one direction or another, I don't think that it's possible because we have all varieties of opinions represented in our district, in students, in families, in staff, and on our school board. It truly is a nonpartisan board, and it's a pleasure to serve that way because politics has no business in the school board.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson, you're up.
I think my conservative beliefs will probably become evident with the way I answer questions, with the promotions I put out about myself running for the school board position. And I absolutely believe that politics shouldn't play a huge role in the board itself, but yet politics are making their way into the school. That is actually the main reason why I finally was triggered to run, is my son was getting regular liberal politics pushed to him by his English teacher. And I spoke to the English teacher, she apologized, and a few weeks later she was back at it again. And it's nothing new. I was a teacher. I know that by nature teachers tend to be more liberal than conservative, so there is an unbalance when it comes to the teachers. And that likely leads to an environment where there is a more liberal political push than there is a conservative. My view isn't to push conservative into the schools, it's to stop the liberal push, so.
Liz Jarvis, you'll close out this question.
Thanks, Mike. So the question is whether I feel I can put aside my personal political beliefs to make decisions that are good for all the students and for LPS as a whole. The answer is yes, of course. I do it every day. I've been doing this job for 8 years. Everyone on our board knows that we leave politics at the door. It has no place on a school board.
Thank you.
My second question is, why are you running for the LPS Board of Education? If elected, what will be your priorities?
We'll start with Reina. Vendramini.
Pretty much my answer is how I explained in my opening statement. I became interested in running for the board when, during the COVID shutdowns, I started to have questions about the pandemic policies. It started really with why we were still masking the children well into the year after the shutdowns and we were back in school. Everything else around us was opening up. What was going on with the schools? And I became, in going to the board meetings, I became aware that our board, they're not trying to be political, but I didn't feel heard, and there were plenty of other parents too. And so I decided to run to be a voice for parents in all situations.
Thank you. Pamela Morgan, you're up.
I'm running for school board because I'm a teacher and I've lived through the 3 years of COVID and seen the heartbreak and the struggles that it's created, and the difficulty that parents had with transparency and understanding what was going on in their schools. I want to make a difference. I have experience for over 30 years, and I've seen the cycles of education change, and we need to get back to the basics. We really need to focus on our core curriculum and think about the future for our children so that they have jobs when they graduate. And I'm so impressed with the Career Technical Center, and I want to add to that so that our students can be successful in the future. And I see a vision for kids when they come in my classroom in first grade, and I know there's a place for them. And I want a place for our students in Livonia Public Schools that's the best.
Thank you. Emily Keith, you're up.
I'm running for Livonia Public School Board because I want to continue on the path that we are currently on and help us move into the future. My top priorities are safe schools, so I would suggest having, we engage the School Safety Task Force to come do safety inspection walks through our schools to ensure that our buildings are safe and act upon those recommendations, to allow teachers to teach the curriculum as they see fit, and to create an environment that fosters open communication and transparency.
Thank you. Mark Johnson, you'll close out this question.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. When I told my wife that I was rerunning for the school board, she said, "Why do you want to do that?" Considering what's been happening over the last few years. But that's exactly why I want to rerun, is because we have unfinished business. The pandemic has set us back, and there's a lot of work to be done to get our kids back to where they were before the pandemic hit. We can't go back to where we were, but we can give them the tools and the education needed to move forward and to succeed. In terms of priorities, we are at a loss for teachers. We really need to focus on retaining and attracting new teachers. We also have to address the social and emotional health of our students. And lastly, in terms of safety, the 2013 bond put a lot into that. The 2021 bond is doing more. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Razan Zorka. I'm from Franklin High School, and my first question for you is, what role do you feel parents, educators, school administration, and the school board play in a child's education? How would you respond to parents with concerns or complaints about what is or is not being taught in their child's school?
Colleen Burton, we'll start with you.
Okay, two different questions there. The role parents, educators, school administration, and school board. Real quickly, because there's not much time. Parents decide where children go to school and the basic parameters with that. Educators are teaching in the classrooms themselves. School administration is overseeing the running of the school. School board makes decisions for the district as a whole that would affect all schools and all levels. I know that's very brief. Sorry, I don't have much time. As far as addressing complaints or concerns about what is or is not being taught, most of the curriculum is dictated by the state of Michigan. That is, they determine what is being taught. The district determines how it is being taught. So the basic state standards come from state of Michigan, and the textbook choice and the manner it's delivered in the classroom comes from the administration and the individual teachers.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson, it's your turn.
Yeah, there's a lot in that question. Everyone's involved in providing a great education. I believe the parents are the key. The more involved they are, the better the education of not only that kid, but of the entire district. So as a school board, we need to be doing whatever we can to encourage more and more parental involvement. Teachers, they're the ones that are direct in front of your kids, teaching you, or teaching them every day. And it's important that they do a great job at teaching their curriculum, they're supported well, and they're also realize where the limits are. They can keep their personal opinions that have nothing to do with their curriculum to themselves and not influence kids in ways that the parents might not appreciate. As far as the school board is concerned in providing the great education, all the decisions are made at the school board. So there's a lot of research that needs to be done. There's a lot of listening to the parents that need to be done, and listening to the students and talking with each other and hoping that we can come up with the best solution.
Liz Jarvis, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. I'm going to address this in reverse order. So the first thing I'd like to address is what to do about what is or is not being taught to your child. And of course, what is or is not being taught is a state-level decision. The standards for our education are set at the state level. That's the what part of our education. The curriculum is the how part, how those standards are taught, how they're taught in the class to each student. And if you have a problem with how the curriculum is being addressed and how it's being taught to your child, then that's something that you take up with the teacher and move up the line to the principal and to the administration in the district. So there is a procedure for that. The other part of the question, the first part that I'm going to do last, is the role of parents, administrators, educators, and school board. We are a team. We are a team that educates your child. The parents are like the catcher. The educator is the pitcher. The admin are like the fielders. They do the infield and the outfield. And the school board, well, we're the umpires. Together, we teach your children how to hit it out of the park.
Reina Vendramini, you'll close out this question.
MCL 380.10 in our Michigan State Constitution states that parents are the natural caregivers, and it is their right and their duty to educate their children, and that the public school system exists to help parents execute their privilege and their responsibility for educating their children. And so that's my angle. I see it as our public school system exists to help the parents serve the children. Our educators do a wonderful job delivering the curriculum. The school administration and school board, again, it is a team effort, but everything has to come down to supporting the parents in raising their children and giving them their education.
Thank you.
My next question is, what specific skills and experiences, professional and personal, do you have that sets you apart from the other candidates that will allow you to best serve the community?
For this question, we'll start with Pamela Morgan.
Well, I guess having the experiences of being in the education world for 30 years really is important here. I don't think anybody has gone through the cycles of teaching, starting out with invented spelling, and then going into basal readers, and now writers and readers workshop. And I know what works best for kids. And I feel that I would be a great candidate for discussing curriculum and making smart choices for physical responsibility for programs and how we can bridge that gap in education right now with our reading and math scores. And I think that I'm a unique candidate for those reasons.
Thank you. Emily Keith, you're up.
The role of the school board is to hire and evaluate the superintendent, approve budgets and policies. My experience as an auditor, a first-time auditor, I was questioning how things were done and found a $2 million error that had been in payables for years. And I found that by questioning. So that is a skill that is very needed. In addition, as Senior Director of Accounting, I've created process efficiencies that saved 88% in time and money. And we know we're working with budgets, so I will be very good at reading budgets and saving efficiencies and money. And then finally, my ability to work with all sorts of people. I am a supervisor of 10 employees, and so I know how to hire people, train people, and work with people from all different backgrounds.
Thank you. Mark Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Testa. First and foremost, when you talk about experience, is my 12 and a half years on the board. I'm intimately familiar with all aspects of the school district, from personnel to budgets. I've lived it for the last 12 and a half years. I am an attorney. My skills as an attorney in negotiations and working with people certainly helps me in this role. But as I said in my opening, I have roles on both sides of Farmington Road. I am on the Parks and Recreation Commission for a long time. I'm on the LPS Education Foundation, and I'm on the Prayer Breakfast. I think all of those things, we bring all of those experiences to our role on the board, and I think when you look at my background and my experiences, you'll see that I'm the best candidate for this position. Thank you.
Colleen Burton, we'll have you close out this question.
I've been serving in this role for 13 years. That is single-handedly my best experience. I have lived through years of want and years of more money to be had. I was on the Board of Education when we had a $462 cut per student, which sounds like $400. It equated to millions in the middle of a school year. We had to make enormous cuts. I've been on the board now when we're serving, when we are actually pleased and pleasantly in a position where we have the most money right now to spend on our students, and we can add to our programming. I believe you need to really know your community and really know the role of a Board of Education and the legal position that you're in as a Board of Education member. I've been living that role for 13 years, and I've lived in our community and actively in all levels of our school district for the previous 25. That experience makes me the best candidate for the school board.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paige Egner. I'm from Franklin High School, and my question is, the district is working to ensure that the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are instilled, honored, and practiced. Please discuss how you will support, demonstrate, and advocate for these principles as a board member.
Jeff Ferguson, we'll start with you.
Yes, this is a topic that is one of the forefront kind of issues in most school boards right now. And there's some very obvious, really not arguable points in it. Inclusion, that's everyone's included. Our country is made up of massive variety of races, people. Everyone's included. Everyone's given the same opportunities. Everyone's protected. That's important. There are some aspects to the diversity, equity, inclusion agenda that I think actually creates the opposite situation. It creates some divisive environments, which causes bullying to actually happen. So I think it needs to be looked at as an important issue, but something that is used caution before you just jump into going full bore with it.
Thank you. Liz Jarvis, it's your turn.
Thank you. Diversity is important. Diversity means that our community in the schools reflects our community outside of the schools. We have a diverse student body. We need to have a diverse employee grouping, and we need to have that diversity also reflected on our board. Equity means equity of opportunity, and that's important because that underscores so much of what we already do. Our students all need to have the tools and the support that they need to learn, and student learning is the bottom line. That's what we're all about. Inclusivity means that everyone is involved and everyone is welcome, and that's what this question basically comes down to. Everybody should feel welcomed, encouraged, and included from day one till graduation.
Thank you. Reina Vendramini, you're up.
Diversity, equity, inclusion. I feel like it's one of these hot button issues right now where it sounds like a really great thing on the surface. You know, who doesn't want to embrace people from diverse cultures and make sure everyone has wonderful opportunities and include? How could you be against that? And those are all wonderful things, but as a movement, I think it's starting to become a political movement instead of a personal welcoming, and that's where I see a problem. We want everyone to be feeling welcome, and I think the best way to do that is to create some common experiences. We can't focus on everything of what's different, but what we can do is create some bonds between our students and our community. What do we have in common? And let's focus and work on that.
Thank you. Pamela Morgan, you'll close out this question, please.
I have a great book. It's called Just Ask. I don't know if anybody knows about it, but it talks about being different, being brave, and being you. And it recognizes students that are autistic, students that have dyslexia, students that have asthma, autism. But sometimes when you focus on diversity and equity and inclusion, it puts people into stereotypes, which isn't productive. And sometimes it can be destructive. And the district needs to focus on training staff and students with communication training. We need to be better listeners and be able to communicate with each other. We need to speak with each other, no matter the difference, which is the key to creating a vibrant and inclusive environment.
Are there any existing board policies that you believe should change? If yes, which policies and why? If no, why?
Emily Keith, we'll start with you.
There are no policies that I believe, board policies, that I believe should change. I believe that we need to ensure that we are following the chain of command when it comes to parents' complaints. They should definitely go first to the teacher, then to the principal, then to the director of education, and then to the superintendent, and should not go directly to the board or directly to the superintendent or the director of education. Our parents need to be talking to our teachers and our principals of the schools when they have issues. And that is one of the most important policies that I believe should be followed.
Thank you. Mark Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. This question, somebody must have seen my background. I am presently the chair of the policy committee on the school board. And I can tell you that we constantly look at policies. We are looking at them all the time. We have gone through binders of policies over the last 5 or 6 years. Most of the policies were instituted back in 1988. It's an ongoing process. To pick out one policy over another would be a monumental task. When we look at all of the policies that we have various divisions within the school district, and that we have policies that relate to each of those areas. So we are constantly reviewing those policies on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, and they will come to the board when they need to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen Burton?
There are 600 pages of policy and administrative procedures that accompany them, and they are on a continuously renewed basis. Probably about 8 years ago, we took a very deep dive, and we began updating a lot of the policies, and from that point on, we put them on a continual review plan. With 600, it's impossible, nor is it necessary to review each one each month, but they're on a continual review basis on the district level. We also work with our attorneys carefully because each year laws change, and inevitably that causes a change in some policy to make certain that we are consistent with the law. So we also receive notices of needing policy change from our attorneys. Occasionally, that also comes from a school or a parent or a building level. Someone's questioning something that takes another review. But policy with 600 pages is on a continual review system.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson, you'll close out this question, please.
Yes, I'm not aware of a specific board policy that I say needs to be changed. There's somewhat of an unofficial policy that I know exists that I don't think is right, and there's an association for school boards within Michigan, and they provide counseling and they provide training to the school board members. And one of the things that they have pushed hard for is that the school boards vote united, that they are united behind basically the superintendent. And if everyone within the school board agrees on the certain issue, then absolutely stand united behind it. But if you disagree, I don't think it's a problem to express that you don't agree with your other school board members, because different voters voted for different candidates, and that's one of the reasons why school board or Livonia Public School parents feel like their voice isn't being heard, because in the end, they come out unanimous, and those that felt like they didn't go their way, they were unheard then.
Hello, my name is Amina Babatunde, and I am from Churchill High School. My question to you is, what kind of board-related professional development do you plan to engage in to keep your skills and knowledge proficient so you may best serve the school district?
Liz Jarvis, we'll start with you for this question.
Thank you. That's a great question. When I first joined the board, I joined the MASB, which is the Michigan Association of School Boards. They do have school board training because no one is born knowing how to do this job. And there are, because the schools are run by the government, there's state organizations, there are laws about how to do this job. And so it is important to attend the sessions, to take the training, and then to continually improve. You know, we expect our staff to continually improve. They have professional development, and we encourage that. We expect it. Well, we expect the same of us. And we do professional development through courses either within the MASB or outside of it. I personally have taken training not only through the MASB, where I have reached several levels, but also taken courses at home, Zooming, attending other places, and have continued to develop myself and hope to continue to do so.
Thank you. Reina Vendramini?
I would be happy to engage in whatever training is provided by the Michigan Association of School Boards, but my favorite way to learn is from other people who are very successful. I like going to people individually and saying, tell me how did you do that so well? Where did you learn? So I would be one to go around and find some of the best performing school districts in terms of student achievement and overall environment, and talk to those people and learn from them, and also to go to our Michigan State Board of Education level. I love talking to two of our members of that state level board, especially Nikki Snyder and Tom McMillan have been wonderfully helpful in sharing information with me. That's been great.
Thank you. Pamela Morgan?
I also look forward to any training that I can participate with. especially with the Michigan Association of School Boards. But I think the best training that I can get is from visiting the schools, coming to the elementary schools and the middle schools and the high schools and the special ed programs and the Career Technical Center. I think that would be the best place to get professional development, and talking to the students. And combining all those things that you can learn from people, like Reina said, conferring with other school districts and seeing their successes and how they got there. I'm ready to learn.
Thank you. Emily Keith, you'll close out this question.
I would be happy to take the MASAB trainings to learn more about the school board, to learn updates and get professional development. I've also talked to school board members in other communities to find their pain points and how they've addressed them. So yes, talking to other school board members as well as open communication with the community as a whole to find their areas of concern, and speaking with students to find out where they want their education to go.
Thank you.
My next question to you is, how can a Board of Education best communicate with its constituents? Could the communication with LPS and its stakeholders improve? If so, how?
Mark Johnson, you'll start us off with this question.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. In terms of communication, the board itself, their communication is via their board meetings. We rarely have direct communication. We rely primarily on the superintendent to communicate via either emails or other forms of communication. We do have Twitter and Facebook to get out to the community. But in terms of the board itself, the best thing to do is come to our committee of the whole meetings or our board meetings, our voting meetings. These occur on a monthly basis. That's the best way for the board to communicate to the constituents. You have to know where we are in order to start that communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen Burton?
First, we need to recognize that no individual board member can speak for the board, other than the president, and then the president can only speak for the board on issues upon which the board has already voted. So if you're wanting to get information about communication from the board, really the best place is either attend or watch recordings of board meetings. As far as listening to board conversations, you can always phone board members, you can email board members. Our email addresses and phone numbers are on our website and available anytime. That really is the best way for communication either way. If you want to hear what's going on with the board, listen to the whole board. Communicate with any of us individually is fine. Communication with LPS, could it improve? It can always improve. One thing that we're doing right now in the last handful of years is utilizing a lot more social media. As communication changes and goes more towards social media, we're utilizing as many of those arms as possible. Communication is always something that can improve.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson, you're up.
School board meetings are the best place for parents to figure out what's going on in the school board and what's going on with their schools. I don't think there's a significant attendance to most school board meetings, and I can understand why. There's a lot of stuff that's covered that isn't really critical to most parents, and it can be quite dry. But there should be a push to encourage more and more parents, especially ones that are frustrated, to come to school board meetings and get more involved. The more parents are involved, the better. There also could be possibly a newsletter or some sort of informational thing that would just highlight some decisions that were made that they know are of interest to the community, because some of them typically are not all that interested, whether someone's budget was approved or not, or a certain hiring or not. But if there's a major curriculum thing that is decided, or something that is kind of a hot topic, The community should know what the vote was and why that was chosen.
Thank you. Liz Jarvis, we'll have you close out this question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. At the risk of being redundant, I'll take a different tack. I believe that when a problem arises, that the solution should be found as close to the problem as possible. So if you're having a problem with your child in a classroom, then you need to talk to the teacher. Sometimes people will take a small problem that could have been solved in the classroom and say, I'm going to take this to the school board. I understand being upset as a parent, that's, you know, you put your mama bear hat on and you want to run and bring this to the attention of everybody, and I get that, but that's not going to solve the problem. Also, everyone on the school board is happy to take emails, requests, questions, picks up the phone, stop me at Kroger, ask your question. That's fine. I'd be happy to talk to you. As Colleen says, I can't speak for the board. I'm just one person, and I'm not the president, so I don't have that happy privilege. When you come to a school board meeting, let's say something is a pertinent topic to be addressed at a school board meeting, you're going to talk, but you're not going to get an answer. Mostly because that's the first time we've heard it, and we need time to do some homework.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Franklin and Churchill students for helping me out today. Let's give you a round of applause. Thank you. We're moving along pretty quickly, so I'm going to squeeze in one more in-depth question before we switch to the next phase. What would you do if a parent approached you with concerns regarding a specific book in the library? We'll start with Reina, Vendramini.
Great question. If there was a concern about a specific book in the library, I would, first of all, listen carefully and take it seriously. Bring it to the attention of the board, look it over. You know, my first concern, of course, would be to make sure that it is not something explicitly not only inappropriate, but possibly illegal, and shall we say pornographic. That has been a big problem that's come to light. There are some books in our district that are beyond troubling, and in other ones too, that I believe that our materials absolutely have to be age appropriate and academically relevant, and if they're not, they're gone.
Thank you. Pamela Morgan?
First of all, I would really listen to the parent, and I would go to the school and speak with the administrator, and I would ask for the book, and we would trail it down to where it came from and talk to the librarian. These books are showing up in our libraries, and it's very disturbing. And parents need to come right away to the board and let us know what's going on, because we don't want these books in our libraries. We want academic excellence. We want core curriculum for our students. It's a problem. We need to pay attention, parents. Look at what your children are reading and make sure that it is appropriate for your age group for school, and bring it to our attention immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Keith?
So I've been told by a media technician at the schools that the books are reviewed by several people within the school before they're allowed to be purchased. Finally, if someone were to come to me, I would read the book myself. I would ask them specifically what pages there's the issue, what is the issue, and to have them write me a paragraph on why those particular pages are inappropriate.
Thank you. Mark Johnson, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. First of all, as a board member, we have to remember what our role is. And our role is not to get involved in the day-to-day operations. If a parent or someone else came to me with a complaint about a book, the first thing that I would do is ask if they followed the chain of command. We have a chain of command. It's first to go to the teacher, then to the principal, and then to the administration. I am not, as a board member, to get involved with that. It would go through that process up to perhaps the superintendent. That's the process that we would go through, and I would inform that individual. I would listen to their concerns, of course, and I would ask them what they have done, and then I would point out what that process is and make sure that they follow that, and then I would follow up with the superintendent to make sure that it had gotten to that point, if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. So, because we're ending, technically Mark should be the last person speaking, but to give equal opportunity in terms of number of times speaking, we're going to let Colleen Burton address this question as well. That way everyone spoke the equal number of times.
Got it. It's funny because this happened last week. Someone contacted me and said they were concerned about a book. And as has been stated, the role of the Board of Education is not to handle a book complaint. That would be stepping way over our bounds. The role of the Board of Education in terms of our curriculum and our employees, the Board of Education has one employee, which is the superintendent. That is the first person that I would copy on an email of this nature. As with anyone who comes to me with a problem, I would send them back to the first source of the issue. If it's in a teacher's classroom, library, in his or her own classroom, they need to talk to the teacher and the principal and specifically identify what the problem content is. As in the case last week, when I asked to specifically identify the content, they said, well, we didn't really know they're going to go read it, but they heard there might be. Absolutely, identify the content, take it to the teacher or the principal, and go up the chain from there if necessary.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the next phase of our Q&A. It's speed round questions. These will be short answer questions. Again, all 7 candidates will now have an opportunity to answer these. You have up to 10 seconds to respond. I'm not going to have a formal countdown clock. We're going to kind of police each other here. If you go too long, I'll cut you off, but I think we'll all kind of stay within reason. So we had other questions that we're not going to be able to get to tonight, so we're going to jump right to speed round. First question, we'll start with Jeff Ferguson, go right around the horn. What attributes and behaviors are essential for a school board member?
I think it's important that school board members are extremely good listeners, they're good researchers, and they're able to look at things with a grand
Thank
view.
you. Sorry, Liz.
I'm going to be real quick. Respect, a little bit of humility, and enthusiasm for our district.
Reina Vendramini.
Most important qualities would be to be a good listener, a good learner, and a person who can maintain their individuality at the same time as collaborating.
Pamela Morgan.
Advocacy, civility, courage, empathy, inquiry, integrity, regard for authority of the board, and selflessness.
Emily Keith.
A good listener, communicator, non-bias, intention for everyone, and advocate for the students.
Mark Johnson.
Integrity, respect, responsibility, willingness to learn and listen, and to communicate.
Colleen Burton.
A deep knowledge of our school district, respect for all, and being willing to consider other opinions other than your own when you walk in the door.
We'll start with Liz Jarvis on this question. What current LPS program would you like to see expanded?
Well, I'm really fond of the LTCT, the Learning Technical and the Technical Career Center. I would love to see that expanded. I would like to see our relationship with our community, especially with the businesses, expanded to develop a stronger internship program.
Reina Vendramini.
That's what I was going to say. There's a lot of opportunity at the Career Center. My son got to go there for a couple computer classes. I see a lot of potential there. I'm not sure if this is quite an LPS program, but I would also like to see the middle school program expanded. They had some connections with the businesses community, like for an inventing contest. That was super beneficial.
Pamela Morgan.
Currently, there's a new program that's being piloted at the elementary schools. It's a STEM teacher, And this allows professional learning communities to occur with teachers where they can plan and problem solve and come up with strategies to help those students that are struggling right now. And I think that program should be district-wide. I think that opens up so many possibilities.
Thank you. Sorry. Emily Keith?
I would like to extend the foreign language program to the younger students, similar to the Japanese immersion school.
Thank you. Mark Johnson?
I've always been a strong advocate of our LCTC programs, everything under that umbrella. I'd like to see maybe the CAPA program expanded a little bit, along with our global education at Stevenson High School.
Colleen?
In addition to those that have already been stated, extracurricular programs at the Livonia Public Schools. We recently added both bowling and lacrosse. They've been hugely received because there are students that didn't get to participate in something otherwise.
Jeff, you'll close us out.
Yes, I think the Technical Career Center is a fantastic program. I think it should be expanded on, not only in what's offered, but also availability. My son would like to go to it, and he's having a hard time scheduling it into his day.
Our next speed round question is, what program does LPS not currently offer that you would like to see added? Reina Vendramini, we'll start with you.
I would love to see a little bit more languages. It would be amazing if we could teach our students Latin in the elementary school or middle school levels. It gives them such a wonderful foundation for learning other languages later on.
Pamela Morgan?
I would like to see the Career Technical Center reorganized, where a student could come in at the high school level and do their coursework for the first 2 years, and the last 2 years could have a program where they would graduate with a trade, a skill, where they could start making money right away as a graduate. I think it would be fantastic for the students that are not college-bound. Not all students are college-bound.
Thank you. Emily Keith?
Ooh, we offer so much. I would like to see expanded into more caretaking opportunities for the older students and to the younger students.
Thank you. Mark Johnson?
Following up with Ms. Morgan's, I'd like to see programs expanded in the Career Center. I just ran across a situation where I paid a plumber a lot of money, and they are aching for plumbers. So I'd love to expand those programs. Thanks.
Colleen Burton?
I'd like to see the robotics program expanded throughout the elementary schools, as is being piloted right now. It's going exceptionally well. We're looking forward to that.
Jeff Ferguson?
Yes, this does relate to the technical career centers as well, but not just programs that are more trade-related, but medical-related, medical assistance and so forth. I think that would be a great addition.
Liz Jarvis?
Well, to be honest, Colleen stole mine. I would like to see the robotics program expanded into the lower grades.
Thank you. Move to the next question. Where would you like to see LPS spend more money, and where would you cut spending if it was necessary? We'll start with Pamela Morgan for this.
I would like more money spent on the students. I think that the classroom needs are much bigger than what is allotted, and our PTA knows this because you support our classrooms. I would like to see more money spent on smaller class sizes.
Thank you.
Hiring more teachers.
Emily Keith?
I would like to see more money spent in the classroom and extracurriculars, as well as mental health professionals.
Mark Johnson?
I'd like to see more money spent on our social and emotional health. We have expanded, we have hired more psychologists and interventionists, but I think that could always be expanded. In terms of cutting, I think that we'd have to really take a deep dive to know what we want to cut.
Colleen Burton?
In the post-COVID years that we're in right now, social emotional help and learning assistance help. We have doubled all of those providers in this current budget that we're in right now because of that. I know we could probably use more. That's where I would add. The cutting, I've been through a decade where we had to cut, and you've got to study it deeply, deeply.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson?
Yes, more teachers, more parapros. Special needs students create a very tough job for teachers, and they need more support. Cutting, I would cut some of the tech stuff, not technical center stuff, but having fancy touch screens and so forth does not really help learning. It just seems cool. It does help a teacher a little bit with moving forward with speed, but it doesn't help the student. It helps teachers.
Thank you. Liz Jarvis?
Let's see, I think that I would put more money towards retaining and attracting teachers, quality teachers, and also towards helping our students develop opportunities for trades, because not everyone is a college material. As far as cutting it, I can't possibly hazard a guess without doing a deeper dive.
Okay, thank you. Reina? Vendramini? Sorry.
Okay. I would love to see the money spent and focused on the classrooms. Again, if there was a way to pay for more teachers so you could have some of those smaller classes, especially at the lower levels. I would love to see what could happen about choosing a curriculum, if that still meets the state standards, that focuses on a little bit more basics at the lower levels.
Thank you.
That would be where I would look.
Okay. Final speed round question. We'll start with Emily Keith. Do you support the collaborative nature of the PTAs in the school? Are you a PTA or PTSA member?
Absolutely, and yes, I was the former vice president of my child's school PTA for 2 years in a row.
Thank you. Mark Johnson?
Absolutely. The collaboration and the partnership between the PTAs and the PTSAs in the school district is second to none. I absolutely support them.
Colleen, Burton?
Absolutely. Livonia historically has had one of the biggest PTAs in the state of Michigan. They, as I've said for years, they put the icing on the cake. I've been a PTA president, vice president, and treasurer, and I think they are a phenomenal organization. We couldn't do what we do without them.
Jeff Ferguson?
Yes, I support them very much. It's one more way of parents getting involved, and that's what I encourage. If I don't get elected to school board, I will be joining the PTA.
Liz Jarvis?
I'm PTA proud. I've been PTA proud for more than 20 years. I don't see that coming to an end. And as usual, my usual offer is up there. Any PTA that asks me, I will be happy to join. I'm already a member of several, as well as the state level PTA, the Great Lakes PTA.
Reina Vendramini?
I love the PTA activities at the kids' schools. You know, it just brings that education to more of a personal level. You know, it brings the families together. So of course, we support anything that brings parents into the educational environment and makes it more like a home.
Pamela Morgan?
The PTA is the heartbeat of the school. I just adore our PTA. Our PTA is called the FFO at the school that I belong to, Family Friends Organization, and they do so much for our students, but they do so much for our teachers. They raise us up, they make us feel important and valued, and they do so much for our classrooms, and they make school fun. School needs to be fun. It hasn't been fun the last 3 years. The roller skating parties are awesome, and all the things that the PTO is doing right now is so important.
Now we're going to move to the final phase, or phase 3, word association. A word or topic will be given. All 7 candidates will have a chance to respond. The intent is a spontaneous and brief, only a few seconds. I was a little too generous in the last round, so I'm going to be a little more strict here. Try to be as quick as possible. First few words that come to mind. First word is bonds and sinking funds. We'll start with Mark Johnson.
We have 2013, 2021 bonds, and we are in a sinking fund, and we have a 10-year facility plan.
Colleen Burton.
Grateful to our community for supporting our district.
Jeff Ferguson.
No comment.
Liz Jarvis.
Very, very dependent on our community for supporting us with bonds and sinking funds. Please continue to support those with your vote.
Reina Vendramini.
Livonia never says no, maybe be responsible to our community.
Pamela Morgan.
Thank you, taxpayers, especially the retired taxpayers. We appreciate your support in public education.
Thank you for your support.
DEI. Colleen Burton.
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and it equals belonging.
Jeff Ferguson.
Covers important key beliefs, but the agenda can be divisive.
Liz Jarvis.
Everyone has a place here. You are welcomed and you are included.
Reina.
Let's make sure we focus on our commonalities and not get too tied up in our perceived differences.
Pamela Morgan?
Communication involving all. All are welcome.
Emily Keith?
Diversity is our superpower.
I got you, right? Sorry, I lost track. Yeah, okay, yep, sorry. Question 3, we're starting with Colleen this time. Colleen Burton. Andrea Oquist.
Best superintendent I've ever had the privilege of working with in this
Jeff-
time.
Jeff Ferguson.
Look forward to meeting her.
Liz Jarvis.
She's my favorite employee. She's actually done every role in our district except drive the bus, and we're working on that.
Reina Vendramini.
I believe she has the power of bilocation. She's absolutely everywhere. It's amazing.
Pamela Morgan.
Teacher, principal, curriculum coordinator, superintendent, superhero.
Emily Keith.
Professional, willing to listen, and willing to learn.
Mark Johnson.
Best superintendent we've ever hired and omnipresent.
Word Association number 4, MASB. Jeff, we'll start with you.
An important tool so school board members that are new, which I'm hoping to be, can learn the ropes.
Liz Jarvis.
A sense of community for those of us who need to learn and share the things that we have learned ourselves.
Reina Vendramini.
A good reference point for getting started in the important work of a school board.
Inspiring professional development.
An association that teaches people to be board members.
Mark Johnson.
Great source of information, training, and support.
Colleen Burton.
Fabulous board member training, no matter how old or new you are in the board.
Last Word Association, PTA. Liz Jarvis.
There's nothing I can say in 10 seconds about PTA.
Reina Vendramini.
Making a school a fun place to be.
Pamela Morgan.
The parent's voice is the ultimate power.
Emily Keith.
Supporting teachers and students and creating fun opportunities.
Mark Johnson.
I don't think we could do what we do without them.
Colleen Burton.
Fabulous entryway for parents to be very involved in their school.
Jeff Ferguson.
The heart of each school, let's grow each one of them.
Thank you very much. So that brings us to the final question of Q&A. Yes, please, thank you. Each candidate will now have 90 seconds to address any of the earlier questions that they did not have enough time to do so, or one of the questions they were not asked. We're handing out the list of questions to you to refresh your memory, but I think most of you are taking notes. And I believe we are up to Reina Vendramini starting. I'll give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts, and then we'll start the clock.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going back to question number 5. What specific skills and experiences, professional or personal, would set me apart from the other candidates and allow me to best serve the community? I have a background, I think, like most people in our community, as a parent, and being involved in the private sector in a lot of different ways, a lot of different jobs. And I have been in the classroom in many different capacities, as a junior high teacher, as a French teacher, as a dance studio teacher, and as a homeschool parent. So I can connect with a lot of different types of people from those different backgrounds. I've also been in Montessori schools and charter schools. I know what pulls people into those types of schools, and I know what pushes people away. And I think I could be a good voice for the community in being representative of what people want to see in our public schools, and helping our board to understand what people's concerns and problems are, and attracting people back to our public schools. I myself have a student who's going to Ivywood Classical, and it was not a decision I made lightly. I could be sending him to Emerson Middle School down the street, but after the COVID shutdowns and some of the environmental problems I found in the school and the curriculum, the excellence, I had to make that choice. I would love to be able to bring him back, but not until we can
Thank
make some good changes.
Pamela Morgan, you have 90 seconds.
Question number 7, it's a tricky one. Are there any existing board policies that you believe should change? I'm really disheartened with the locker room and the bathroom policies. I believe that there should be locker rooms for boys and girls, bathrooms for boys and girls, and if there are other boys and girls that choose to use a different one, then there should be a different locker room or a place where they feel comfortable, or a bathroom where they feel comfortable. I believe that all children should be comfortable using the bathroom and using the locker rooms, and they should feel safe.
Thank you. Emily Keith, you're up.
I will go with question number 9. How could the board best communicate with its constituents? In Farmington, they're going to have quarterly town halls with the community, the board, and the superintendent, and a third-party mediator from MASB to talk about hot button topics such as test scores and DEI. I believe this will help our communication with the community and to allow people to understand exactly what is truly going on in the schools and open up the communications where it's a two-way street. And the topics, since it will be quarterly, can be voted on, which ones will be discussed, and can be, each side can prepare what they want to discuss about those topics.
Thank you. Mark Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Testa. I'd like to go back to question 8, which is what kind of board-related professional development do you plan to engage in? I'm proud to say that during my time on the board, we have created a code of ethics. One of the things in our code of ethics that we review and we sign each year is that we encourage new board members to become certified within the first 6 months on the board. That requires a series of 9 classes that have to be taken. We are an honor board. We are an honor board with distinction. We are only one of a handful of boards, honor boards in the state of Michigan. That means that all 7 of us are certified board members. We constantly take new classes. MASB offers 100 level, 200 level, 300 level courses, advanced courses. They have webinars, they had conferences. We constantly go to them. I can't tell you the number of courses that I have taken. I can't tell you, I know that my colleagues are constantly going to classes. We encourage that. As Liz says, we weren't born board members. We have to learn. And it's a constant ongoing process because things change. That's what I would encourage.
Thank you. Colleen Burton?
I did not have the opportunity to answer the question on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The best picture that I was ever able to see about what equity looks like is 3 kids standing at a wooden fence. One of the fence is 6 feet tall. One of the kids is 6 feet tall, so he can look over the fence with no problem. One of them is 5 feet tall, so he needs 1 box to stand on, and then he can see over the fence too. The next little guy is 4 feet tall, so he needs 2 boxes to stand on before he can see over the fence. Equity is what do you put in the kid's box. If one child is coming, we've been doing equity for decades, we just haven't called it that. Equity might be that one child may need hearing help in his box. Another child might need nutrition services in their box. Some may need counseling in their box. Some may need math tutoring, math help. Some may have a real struggle with dyslexia and reading. Different children may need different things in their boxes. Some may come in 6 feet tall and not needing special help. But other kids need something in their box so that they're able to learn what's being presented by their teachers today. That's what equity looks like before it was politicized to be something different. Equity's been going on since this district was created in the 1960s, and I'm certain that it always will. Diversity is recognizing what the vast differences that we all have coming in the door. If you looked at just the people in this room tonight and we talked with one another for more than 10 minutes, we'd find the differences in one another. Equity and inclusion, it equals belonging.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson?
Yes, I'd like to answer the question one. What are the top 3 changes that you feel Livonia Public Schools needs to address in the next few years? I think our students need to learn, not only at home, but in the school, lessons on lessons on integrity, how to have true integrity as a person, as a human being. I know that from what I've heard from my sons, vaping is out of control in the high school and potentially middle schools as well. Cheating on tests and homework is out of control. Bullying. These things shouldn't be existing, and we need to focus on integrity of our students. Unity. Unity is important, and that starts with pride in our country, not shame. It's pride in our community in Livonia. It's pride in our school. The unity is important, not divisiveness. And then finally, realistic curriculum. One of the reasons why I stopped teaching is I felt like I wasn't helping students anymore because I was cramming material down their throats so they could memorize it for an exam and forget it 2 weeks later. The basics weren't even remembered long term. I think realistic curriculum goals should be set.
Thank you. Liz Jarvis?
Thank you. I would like to speak to question number 9, which was about communication. Sometimes people think that they have something to say, but they don't know where to go to say it. And people might mistake that for a lack of opportunity to communicate. So for those who have something to say and don't know where to say it, I would like to point out opportunity. We have parent-teacher conferences. We have principals who hold coffee sessions for parents. We have IEP team meetings where parents and teachers come together for the benefit of a student. We have committees such as our district school improvement team, our health and human growth committee, our COVID planning committees, our DEI subcommittees. In addition to that, parents can find voice at their PTA meetings, at booster groups, or as club mentors, and many more. And if you're looking for one-on-one communication, we have parent portals, we have teacher website, and we have email addresses and phone numbers for every teacher posted. Our budget is posted, our curriculum is posted. The things that teachers present at their open houses and curriculum night are posted. And if you can go through all of these methods and exhaust them and you don't have an answer, please give me a call.
Okay, thank you very much. That will wrap up our Q&A, so thank you very much to all the candidates who went through all those questions with us. Lastly, we're going to move to closing statements. Everyone will have a 90-second opportunity to maybe one final sales pitch on why we should vote for you. We started with Jeff in opening statements. We're doing reverse order, and we'll be starting with Colleen Burton.
Thank you. Being a member of a school board is important work. It is not a hobby. It's certainly not about one issue, no matter what the issue is. I believe people who seek to have a seat on the school board need to be passionate advocates for the school district in which they're trying to serve. We've heard some talk tonight about respect and integrity. If you are passionate and if you are very involved in your schools, then you should know that we have a Communities with Character program that's been going on from kindergarten through high school. It includes and is embedded in our curriculum respect, integrity, grit, responsibility, empathy, confidence, reflection, and mindfulness. People who want to sit at a school board need to know their district very, very well. They need to be passionate. I am passionate that all students receive an education in this school district, that we reach their individual needs. Sometimes those are academic and sometimes they're personal. That we reach all families, because we'd like to say that nothing happens that's not wonderful in Livonia, but guess what? We have rough things in Livonia. We need to know our families and be able to reach out to them so that their kids can learn. We need to teach kids in all circumstances because sometimes life happens even to kids. I am involved in this school district. I'm running because I want to continue to be involved, not because I want to start to be involved. If you feel I've served LPS well, I would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Jeff Ferguson, you have 90 seconds.
All three of our incumbents here, by the way they've answered their questions, you know that they know their stuff. They've got experience, and if someone was to be looked at as who's most qualified for this position at this exact moment, I'll confess, all three of them are way more qualified. They've done the job, they know what it's about, but they'd all like you to believe that Livonia Public Schools is moving in a good direction, the right direction. And I think many of you disagree with that. Grades are down, Michigan's ranking in education, it's horrible. Livonia within the state, it's pretty good, but it's not great, and it's going down. So if things are going downhill, changes need to be made. And I'm offering a change. I will work hard, and I'll learn as much as I can so I can do the job well and catch up with the incumbents on their level of knowledge. And I will always put the kids first and the power behind the parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Jarvis?
The work we're doing in LPS is important work. We're focused on student learning, which of course has been influenced by recent events, including the pandemic, its impact on mental and emotional health, and staffing issues. But we are passionate and we are optimistic. We know our children love to learn, and they want to belong, and they want to be a part of an environment that's warm and safe and welcoming. We're building that environment every day by what we say and by what we do, as well as by renovating and updating our facilities. Big things are underway. Now, I've been involved in these changes, in building the environment to promote student learning, and I take this work seriously. It's work that I want to see through to completion. Please re-elect me so I can finish the job.
Thank you. Reina Vendramini?
I'm running as a mom, as an educator, and as someone who sees, I think, from a little bit of a, maybe with a bit more of a wider perspective, since I'm not on the board and I'm not involved right now in the nitty-gritty, but I am a member of this community, and as a parent and a citizen of Livonia, I'm concerned about the direction things are going. I looked up enrollment numbers just today. For the school year starting in 2019, we had 14,057 students. School year beginning in 2020, 13,547. School year beginning with 2021, 13,385, so not quite that bounce back from the COVID lockdowns that maybe we would hope or expect to see. And then this school year, still a little bit low down again, 13,335. It's down just 50 from last year. As coming from Livonia myself, I know that the academics, it used to be better. It used to be better. It used to be more technically, we used to get a more technical education at the elementary level, and then we could just fly when we were older. I would like to bring my view as a parent who is concerned for the purpose of the school to be fulfilled, for these kids to go out into the world with academic, vocational skills, and to be people of integrity and responsibility that can use those skills to serve.
Thank you. Pamela Morgan?
I realize the struggles that teachers and parents experience every day. I go to bed at night, and I think of my students who are struggling in my classroom socially, emotionally, and academically. Every day before entering school, I pray for patience and kindness. I really think as adults, we need to focus on patience and kindness. Public education teachers and students have experienced many losses the past 3 years. We must find a way to support parents, teachers, and students. The gap that exists is larger than normal. We must use our resources to support the students who have learning loss. We must restore faith with our parents that we are focusing on core academics and not politics. We must restore a positive culture for learning where children are respectful and courteous to adults and students. This is not happening. I believe with my expertise with classroom management, curriculum, and parent involvement in using resources outside the school budget to fund my classroom needs, I have what it takes to make Livonia schools a better place for everyone, teachers, students, and parents. I'm that passionate teacher who will strive for excellence in making difficult decisions during these very turbulent times.
Thank you. Emily Keith?
I'd like to thank the PTSA Council once again and all the other candidates for running. I'm going to close with a way for you to remember me by and the issues I care about. Emily Keith cares. Compassion, accountability, respect, equity, safety. Social emotional learning helps students better understand and identify their emotions to help develop a sense of compassion and empathy. School board members, the superintendent, faculty, and parents alike must exercise accountability and be role models for our students. Teachers deserve respect and trust that they are the experts in the curriculum. Equity in funding, policies, and practices is the key to a fair education for everyone. School safety is a top priority, from strengthening our buildings to providing a safe space for students to express their authentic selves. You should vote for Emily Keith because Emily Keith cares.
Thank you. Mark Johnson?
Excuse me for laughing, but my wife is wrestling with my special needs son back there to keep him quiet. I'd like to thank the PTSA Council for putting this forum on. I think it's been very informative. LPS, in my opinion, is the best school district in the state of Michigan. From our leadership team at central office, to our teachers and administrators in our schools, to our custodians, to our bus drivers. But even the best school districts face challenges, and we did that over the last 2 years with the pandemic. It took its toll. Our students, including our littlest and most vulnerable students, face challenges that they've never faced before. But it was only through a strong leadership team, including the superintendent and the board, that got our students back into the classroom earlier than any other district, all the while offering a virtual component for students that didn't want to come back right away. That being said, we still face challenges. We have teacher shortages, we have the social and emotional health of our students, and we are dealing with academic losses. I've been on the front lines in all of those. It takes a strong board to negotiate those challenges in the future. I think I have the qualifications to do that. I've been on the front lines, and I ask for your support November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the candidates for participating tonight, and thank you to the committee who helped select these questions. We had, again, 66 questions submitted from the community, and it was hard to narrow down these questions. So thank you very much. We'd also like to thank everyone in attendance tonight and those watching at home with the recording that we'll post later. Thank you to the City of Livonia for allowing us to use the building and the facilities today, and Linda Shield for being my notary on the paperwork and helping me walk through the paperwork. Also, Livonia TV, producer in the back, you can't see him, Nathan Rockwell, has been awesome to work with. I appreciate your help and support tonight. Remember to vote on or before April 8th. Thank you, and have a good night. November.